most famous physical therapist on the internet.
Welcome, my friends, to the Bob and Brad podcast, which is produced by Bob and Brad, the two most famous physical therapists on the internet, in our opinion. I am exactly one half of the Bob and Brad team, and I'll be your host today. I'm joined by Chris the Pharmacist,
Hi, guys.
smartest man I know. In fact, Brad and I were talking. We think he's a cyborg or something.
No.
So anyway, we're going to talk about human growth hormone. Does it slow aging, increase height? And then we're going to talk about at least 10 ways to boost it naturally. So why don't we talk first about the possible benefits, Chris, of human growth hormones? What are some of the advantages of it?
When you really look at growth hormone, it from a prescriptive standpoint, it's really designed for about three generalized categories. If you're born of short stature, if you have waist,
this would be a child.
Yeah, generally for childhood use.
So, Chris, why don't we first start talking about the possible benefits of the human growth hormone?
Yeah, so basically, there's just a few noted benefits that they found through years of research with using human growth hormone. It's going to be kids basically born with short stature for a variety of different reasons, and there's multiple syndromes within that umbrella. It's going to be used for the wasting of muscle in people that have HIV or AIDS to help to kind of stimulate that and kind of distribute some of the fat problems that are sometimes associated with HIV medications. And then really it's going to come down to people that have had tumors, things that mess up with the pituitary gland, so whether there's been some cancer or just something that's just simply not functioning properly. So those are really the real medical reasons why you would use growth hormone.
That's the prescription
version, and there's a lot of non-prescription things and aspects that certainly go on. There's a reason why it's illegal in athletics and the Olympics. Frankly, it works.
And we're talking about earlier how it's being used a lot in Hollywood. In fact, I read, nobody's coming out and telling you they're using it.
No, they're not going to tell you. But when you're 65 years old and you look like you're 45, something's going on.
And you're ripped. There was some that admitted to it. It was Sylvester Stallone. Well, they caught him.
Yeah, he got busted.
Suzanne Summers did in the book, Oliver Stone and Nick Nolte. And Nick Nolte, oh my God, he looks like he should be using it, but
well, hard living.
Yeah, hard living. Yeah. So, but I had looked up a few too. I wanted to get your opinion on this. So, advanced loss of body fat.
Yep.
So, enhanced muscle growth.
Yes, it's interesting because growth hormone. That's the interesting thing when you look at athletes. A lot of times when athletes use it, they stack it with the steroid base. That's how they get the strength aspects. It creates more lean muscle mass, but it doesn't necessarily make you stronger. So it's kind of interesting. So there's something. One of the reasons that drives that bus is they use insulin-like growth factor, and that's one of the things that helps with the development of muscle tissue. So it works, and it's a hormone. It's 191. Free peptide chain of amino acids. That's
so an athlete probably won't want to use it just purely alone. Even illegally.
Not
that
we would ever recommend that they would use that, Bob. But
right.
If they were going to cheat, they would probably be using it with something else.
Sure. So get your facts straight. Okay, next thing, increased exercise capacity.
Well, it's one of those things where growth hormone drives the bus in everything that we do, whether we're working out, it does so many other intrinsic things in our body, but for a recovery rate. So, the Lance Armstrongs of the world,
sure.
I think that's a pretty graphic example. Unfortunately, professional cycling has been wrought with whether it's doping, whether it's HGH, whether it's steroids, and this really was all three, which is kind of interesting. And probably
if you didn't have a chance.
You did not have a chance, and
it's leveling the field, unfortunately.
And they had to be smart about it. But the reality of it is that it does speed up recovery, and or in aspects of injury, it will help you to promote a faster recovery. But the weird thing is, and I couldn't find an exact reason, and I looked. It does increase, if you have more muscle mass, you would think intrinsically you'd be stronger, but they haven't been able to show that in laboratory studies.
That's just so strange.
And a lot of these things too, these studies were done mostly on short stature kids. So when we talk about some of the other things we're going to progress through too, they just noticed the good effects or the U effects of the product on these children as they grew and aged and developed. And there, other doctors were making the extension of thought for people, in other categories, as adults, as aging athletes. And so that's how a lot of these things ended up occurring.
So I take it it's used fairly short term for children, or
Well,
is
no,
it
I
could
mean,
be
you
several
get,
years?
they want, if they the sooner you like if you have a short stature child, whether it's premature birth, whether it was a tumor, whether it's one of the syndromes that they use it to treat for, they want to get it in there as quickly as possible and then for as long as possible. I mean, at the end of the
Oh,
day, for growth, I mean, you have a limited spectrum of activity, so when those bones fuse, you're pretty much done. But then
right.
there's other superficial bones that grow, and then we can talk about acromegaly and things like that, which are side effects that can happen to adults when they're
Sure.
done growing, and you get the longer hands and fingers and feet, and
Sure.
so those smaller bones definitely still continue to grow, which is unique and somewhat problematic, I
Yeah,
would
that
imagine.
I don't think would be a desire that you're looking the
No,
desired
no,
effect
you,
you're looking
you
for.
don't want
So,
the elongated face, big jaw.
so they also talked about possibly improved fracture healing and tougher bones.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, again, it's a hormone. So we have receptor sites all over our bodies, and so it helps to stimulate bone growth. And so we know that for a fact. And I mean, when you're younger, and for obvious reasons, when we're growing, we want you have a more rapid bone turnover rate.
so I wonder, are they being used at all if they have someone that's not healing very well? And I wonder if it's used in that.
I think probably more off label. I don't think you're going to
Sure.
see most physicians, because there are dangers with growth hormone. So we have, we'll touch on
And
that
we'll
as we
get into
go.
that. Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those things where, yes, it works. And so there's a reason why it's banned by the IOC, it's banned by MLB, it's banned by the NFL, it's banned by NC2A. I mean, it's
Sure.
banned, but it does help. It does promote healing. It does help to enhance bone strength. It helps with the matrix. So it works with your body's natural systems.
Now, one thing we had in the title, does it slow down aging? And could you speak to that, Chris?
I mean, slowing down aging. I mean, you're
Like
still gonna,
living longer.
yeah,
and
it does. It seems to, your appearance gets better. You're
Sure.
gonna have better. Your hair will be restored. You're gonna have better color. You're just gonna,
And that's why it's so popular
it gets
in Hollywood.
Yep, so
Yeah.
really for the aesthetic aspects, and there's actually, it's not just popular in Hollywood. It's one of the most abused things that they use it for. These youth spas in other countries. You can't get it in the United States, but you can get it elsewhere, or you can buy it online. But I mean, it's one of these things. But you don't know what you're getting online, so you have to be real careful with that. And I can talk about a Chinese example if you want. But nonetheless, it does seem to give you the appearance of youthfulness. But it doesn't
not
necessarily
necessarily
make you live
living
longer,
longer.
because
Yeah.
it can create a multitude of side effects. And it's quite unethical. And actually, it's technically illegal to use for that purpose.
You got to tell us your good-looking corpse line.
Well, yes. Well, I thought we were going to talk about that in side effects, but yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. Sorry about that.
but yeah, with the I mean, really, at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people, when their face is their business, I mean, looking good, looking young, looking well is kind of a key. But I mean, with the risks that are associated with growth hormone use, it's going to end you faster. I mean, it's cancer, it's diabetes, it's thyroid problems. So you'll be a good-looking corpse,
Live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse.
but look pretty.
Yeah. So another one, restoration of erectile dysfunction.
Yeah. So because it's a hormone, I mean, it passes through the blood, and what they think that it does for that is the corpus callosum, which is what gives men an erection. It basically seems to allow the smooth muscle to function more effectively. That's the closest that we could find as far as what they believe is why it works. But if you have more operational smooth muscle, blood gets in there better, and basically everything else works more effectively.
And it's funny, they made a reference to this in one of those Hollywood articles, that it's the love child of Viagra and Botox.
Yeah,
it's working for both things.
I think it works. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, in a lot of ways, it's I mean, it's, I guess, whatever floats your boat, right?
We'll talk about possible side effects coming up, but yeah, everything you pay a price.
Yes.
So how about a stronger immune system?
Yeah, it's strange. Growth hormone, again, and it's wild. I mean, our immune systems are very complex, so it's an aspect of immunity. But with all the other complexities that we have within there, we do show quite eloquently with regular, with growth hormone. Again, we find this with kids that were supplemented with it, or adults that had, some problem with their
Sure.
pituitary gland. We recognize fully that their they were not getting as sick.
Yeah.
And so doctors are
Isn't
pretty
that
bright as a
amazing?
lot. And so they studied it, and lo and behold, it works within that immune functioning category, where it does help to minimize coughs, colds, and illnesses. But
Interesting.
there's
And
the
again,
downside.
you're paying a price to get that.
Correct.
So, all right. Decreased cardiovascular risk.
Yeah, again, the hormonal aspects, and it has to do with the muscle functioning. So, but it also, because growth hormone is something that's designed, like when we grow, it's what makes us get big and tall and strong and fast and develop from child to adult. Those muscles, I mean, you do kind of turn back the clock. So, I mean, that's one of the things that's so hard to argue against, because you do see a lot of good positive benefits when we are supplementing with growth hormone. But the problem is again, like I said, it's
Well,
illegal.
let's go to the side effects. So let's talk about that. I mean, and yeah, it's illegal unless it's prescribed for
Unless
you.
it's prescribed by
the
your doctor.
Instances where you were talking about with HIV or
Yeah,
or for
whether
a
it's
child.
muscle wasting,
Yeah.
child short stature. I mean, and some of those syndromes are. But yeah, the downside of it is, particularly with adults. So let's say you're a 50, 60, 70-year-old with some means, because it's expensive. So I always classify that as a side effect.
Sure.
There are very few insurance companies, unless you have either a cancer or something to the fact where it's a legitimate medical need. You got a pituitary gland that's not functioning properly. It's probably going to get covered by insurance. But for most of us that, let's say you want to look better, live, and try and look a little bit more youthful, it's not going to be covered by insurance.
What's the cost?
Anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a month. So it's expensive.
Yeah, that's
But
there's a lot of people that
so
pay that price.
I would call that a side effect, but I mean, there's
Sure.
some people where money just simply isn't an object.
Sure.
And so when we talk about the Hollywood crowd, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
they live in a different world that you or I
Right,
probably never
right.
know. but they have all sorts of fun toys and things that go along
Yep.
with that, I think. But the realistic issues that we see, particularly in adults that are trying to gain advantages to look youthful, when we use growth hormone, is it can increase our risk for diabetes. It can increase, ironically, with the cardiovascular function, it can actually increase your risk for other heart abnormalities. So
Interesting.
it's kind of a double-edged sword, and I think you see that more with the aging. Thyroid cancers are most common, but it can be other cancers, even skin cancers. So it's any type of, and actually, to go back to children that are actually using it, let's say they had a cancer that initially caused the problem to begin with. Secondary neoplasms or secondary cancers are,
show
I don't
up.
want to say a common occurrence, but it definitely is more prevalent in the people that have to use growth hormone. And so when the doctor makes a very conscious decision to approach this for any human being, they're trying to weigh out these risks and benefits. And no matter
Sure.
what drug I talk about, every drug on earth is going to have the
Yep,
positive and the
exactly.
negative. I mean, the good aspects of a drug are still side effects. They just happen to be good, so nobody really considers it. The bad aspects are bad. And obviously with things like growth hormone, like we're talking about today, you're a healthy adult otherwise, you want to look better, you use it, and all of a sudden become a type 2 diabetic.
And this is all enhanced by the fact that if you buy a legal version of it, who knows the quality of it, correct?
Correct. I mean, it comes down to, like anything else, is knowing your sources, reputable sources. And again, it would be something that if people were to go down that avenue, you'd have to be very careful. If you're finding after, you made a purchase like this online, I've looked at the FDA site, and actually there were several products that came through China, which seems like most things do, and they were just amino acids. They were lyophilized amino acids. You reconstitute it with whatever solvent they have in there, and you inject it. And so they were purporting it to be growth hormone when it was actually just arginine, which again is
We'll talk about
the
it's actually
amino
one of the
acids.
natural ways. Yeah.
But it's something that certainly isn't going to give you that punch, so to speak, to get what you're looking for. But the reality of growth hormone, and I mean, I've looked at the research for over 25, 30 years, is it works, but there's a cost, and there's a pretty heavy cost at times.
Yeah, and if you won't find out the cost sometimes till years later.
It's still too late. I
it's
mean, I
too
guess
late,
if
yeah.
and I guess if you have a doctor that's prescribing it and you're paying for it and they're watching for it, I mean, if you're an endocrinologist and you're a specialist, I mean, clearly they know what they're doing, and maybe it's going to be used in cycles rather than just chronically using it all the time, giving your body a little bit of a break to kind of recuperate. So I think
Sure.
there's different ways that you can apply it. Which is an injectable product. And that's the other thing too. Anything that you buy online that's not injected is not real human growth hormone.
So
it
it's
is
not
only injectable.
You right there, that rules it out. That if it's online,
Yeah, if
it's
you're buying a
not-
tablet or a spray, it's not growth hormone.
yeah, it might be
period.
something that might help a little bit boost it, but
Yeah,
it's not.
But yeah, it's buyer beware, and
Right.
it's wild, wild west when it comes to that. And we'll touch on that as we
Sure.
go into it.
Well, let's talk about some of the natural ways to boost them.
Absolutely.
So, sleep.
Yeah, it's going to be sleep, diet, and exercise are really the big pillars. And I talk about this all
Can't
the
get
time.
away from that, can you?
No, I can't. I'm a boring guy, Bob.
yeah,
I just am.
It's
I'm
funny.
shallow.
It's just you want to lose weight, you gotta Exercise.
You need to
diet,
exercise, you need to eat well,
right.
and you need to get your sleep.
Sleep, yeah.
I mean, and those three things actually do all stimulate naturally your pituitary gland to produce more growth hormone. So if we want to just start with just sleep, which I think is, America, and we've talked about this in one of our last podcasts, is that America doesn't get enough sleep.
Yeah,
so
it
if you aren't
seems to be
sleeping,
a badge of honor for a lot of people. Like, well, I only get 3 hours of sleep a night.
yep. And that's, it's not something to be proud of. It's just, some people can function that way and some people can't. But it's one of those things where studies show, and they're right, and doctors know, and they're right, that the more, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, 7 to 10 hours of sleep is where we really need to be.
For the average person, and like it could be one out of 1,000 people that can get by with much less, and you really must not need it, Chris, because you would crash.
I have problems. Just ask my wife. But the reality of it is, it really is important to try and get as much rest as you can. It releases through the sleep cycle. So we have anywhere from 4 to 6 cycles of sleep that we go through.
Yeah.
And the heaviest burst of growth hormone occurs at that first cycle of sleep. So when you get to that deep restorative stages, so they call it stage 3, that's where your slow wave sleep occurs. That's also when your pituitary gland starts to kick out that growth hormone. And that's where all of our healing processes occur. I mean, growth hormone, even though we're adults and even though the amount diminishes, particularly after adolescence, and really diminishes after 30, it's still important for all of our metabolic processes. It's why our muscles still remain firm and strong. It's why we tend to keep fat under control. It's why we try and keep our diabetes under control. It's why our bones regenerate. It's why our cognitive functioning is the way that it is. So there's a variety of different reasons, and it's all good. But as we age, our bodies are designed to accept lower amounts of growth hormone, and that's probably what, when somebody lives to be 90, 100, 105 years old, the reason that we're probably living longer without those problems, one, they have a genetic disposition.
Sure.
Let's face it. They probably did a few things right throughout their lives, whether they focused on their diet and exercise or not, or they're just naturally, they just gravitated towards it. But I mean, endocrinologists are going to tell you that when we supplement with growth hormone, and the reason that we end up with type 2 diabetes or we end up with thyroid conditions, I mean, these are all things that are very, very important for other processes in our bodies. And when we inject the growth hormone into our body, not your hand really, it's going to go in your muscle, but you're going to ruin that whole process. So you're gaining certain things. So you're going to look more youthful. Your collagen kind of fills in, your muscles fill out. So all those good things happen, but there is a operational cost. And so we have to be super careful with that.
So how does melatonin play a role in this? And I was reading about bright light and melatonin.
Yeah, well, melatonin is a unique substance that our bodies make. It's a different gland in our body, the pineal gland, another lower base brain, so next door to the pituitary, really.
Sure.
There's not that much space in there.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that melatonin, it's what governs our sleep and wake cycle. And what they've found is that when your melatonin levels are up, we get tired, so we get some sleep. So, and it all goes back to that first sleep wave. So sleep, again, the pillar of fitness really is sleeping.
So, but when you have plenty of melatonin, you're going to sleep well, and you're going to...
Yeah, but they've found that even taking and melatonin, you have to be careful with,
we
too.
talked about this because you
long-term, it creates problems.
You can take it, and your body stops making it then. Right?
It doesn't work as efficiently as... about 2 weeks. And really all melatonin, by all medical standpoints, should really only be used for a couple of weeks and be for people that travel for a living. Let's say you're going from the United States to Europe, although they're probably not doing that right now, but shift work. Yeah. I mean, those are going to be the things where you have those approaches where you have to kind of get your body reset back and forth. Beyond that, it has its own side effects. But we know that when you take melatonin, it's a hormone itself, and it also helps to stimulate the production of growth hormone by a pretty large margin. In some studies, they say even 45 to 150%. So that's a large amount of growth hormone, depending upon the tracers and indicators that they're looking at. It's dose dependent as well. But again, it's probably something, when we look at this ethically, I mean, how much do you want to live longer? Do you want to look better? Or is it somewhere in between? And so I think
you touched on earlier too, before the podcast, that people possibly could get too much growth hormone. We don't know.
Well, we don't know, but you see examples. I mean, I think there is a set dose that doctors have research. I mean, it's been around. We've been using synthetic growth hormones since the 80s. And so the reality of it is we know the dose windows that are required. It's just the negative aspects of it when we're going off the rails
Right.
is what you have to
Higher.
watch for, because there are very real, very serious risks. So melatonin for before bedtime, one of the best foods on earth to stimulate melatonin is pineapple. And it also stimulates
Just
growth
talked
hormone.
about that. I
So,
find
and
that
then
so
raspberries are
interesting.
right there. So, and cherries are right there.
So you need to eat it right before bedtime, though.
That's what they say, and which is funny because one of the biggest killjoys for growth hormone production is sugar. And when we're talking about the glycemic index, which is going to make people yawn and go to sleep, but it's a medium range, and the sugar with that sugar,
It's
as far
not
as the
real high on the glycemic.
It's not high, but it's still more sugar. And every article I've ever said is that sugar cuts down the production of growth hormone. So it was interesting to me. So it has something to do, I think, more or less with how it stimulates melatonin, which probably then in turn, within that cycle stimulates the growth hormone.
Sure.
So for whatever reason, I mean, getting your sleep, pineapple seems to be a trick. I don't think I would eat an entire pineapple before bed, but you could probably try a little bit.
Awesome. This is probably not going to be very helpful to people, but one way to increase growth hormone, isn't it? You decrease body fat,
Yep.
manage your insulin, decrease sugar, like all those things you'd want to do anyway.
Correct.
But so it's not really helpful advice for increasing your growth hormone.
No, but it's really one of the interesting things. You always think of food as a way to stimulate things. Well, intermittent fasting is another
Oh yes,
way
exactly.
to consider, and actually, it's one of the bigger drivers of the bus, and it's a pretty simple procedure. So there's different ways to do intermittent fasting, and I think there's several ways on the internet you can certainly look at. It seems to be relatively trendy, but
Yeah, it
so
is.
depending upon which way you want to do it. But I mean, you sleep overnight. You're in a fasted state to begin with. So if you push back your meal, let's say
That's
instead of getting
fasting
up
in
and
itself,
that's
right.
exactly. And so your body is like, well, gosh, I need energy. So it goes into those fat cells. It breaks them down. Fat's our best energy source. So it breaks it down, lipolysis. And so basically at that point, your body is breaking down fat and you're getting energy and off you go.
I think
And it
it's
requires-
a good point to be brought up because my first thought with fasting was I'm not going to eat for 2 days.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I couldn't do that.
I think that's what and I couldn't do it either.
So like I don't know if the guidelines are I haven't seen it, but what are they talk about, like eating your last meal at 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that? And then-
to make sure you maximize growth hormone production, you don't want to eat within 2 to 3 hours of going to bed. That's everything that I've read. That's kind of seems to be the big thing. But there's different ways to fast. So I mean, there's ways where you can just have 2 days a week where you just have like a 500 to 600 calorie a day diet, and all the other
So
days of
you're
the week
cutting
you eat
down.
normally. So
Sure.
you just space them out. So let's say Monday and
Yeah, I've
Thursday
seen
are the
that
days you're
too.
not going to eat as well. Otherwise, it's pushing back. You eat just in a window. So there's 8 hours, and you eat
Oh,
normally
sure,
within those
in
8
that
hours.
window, right.
But I mean, you become satiated after you eat. So I mean, you're not necessarily going to eat 3 hours after that.
Right.
There are some study, there's the small, tiny meals. So there's a lot of different ways that people can try. Like I said, I guess if you're interested in fasting, I would talk with your doctor because you just want to make sure that it's right for you.
Right.
I always stress that. But the reality of it is it does seem to, I mean, because your body doesn't like being hungry, we have reserves. I have plenty of reserves right around the middle. So I'm sure that if I were to fast, it's going to definitely help
Sure.
to improve and drive, the fat burning. And that's what creates the lean mass. And that's one of the attractive aspects of abusing growth hormone.
You want to mention there's a bunch of amino acids. That,
Yep. There's,
you
I mean,
can get through food ideally.
Yep, arginine, glutamine, orthonine. I mean, there's tons of there's 20 amino acids, but I mean there are some that seem to be some are better than others, and usually when we stack them together, it seems like arginine and orthonine seem to be the best two insofar as what we've seen with synergy together to help stimulate more growth hormone production. It seems.
Arginine found in red meat.
Yep.
Seeds, nuts,
Seeds.
chicken, brown rice.
Yeah, it's in a variety of different things that we eat.
You can look it up.
So, but
yeah.
the reality of it is that when we're eating naturally, you're going to gain these things. Actually, and if you lean red meat and specifically grass-fed beef,
Right.
versus I guess, I mean, they're all farms, but I mean, when they're eating more of the grains and other things to fortify and fatten them and make them taste better.
Right.
But I think, honestly, I mean, I prefer to tend towards lean cuts myself. I do like grass-fed beef. It's just a leaner cut of meat, but it really can be even classified as a superfood because of all the other health benefits that you get from it. There's not a lot of fat. You get an excellent protein quantity because of the amino acids that are in there. They, specifically arginine and orthogonine, excuse me. They are the ones that are going to help to stimulate that growth hormone surge, to help to replenish and heal those muscles and help with all those cellular processes that they work to improve on.
Just not leaving the vegans out or the vegetarians. You can
No.
get through
Well,
seeds
and nuts. No,
yeah.
I mean they can do this
all
too.
right, we
So.
completely understand that too. And orthogonine is about the same thing, right? Some of this,
Yeah, I mean, you can get supplements that are purified. You can just go on to Amazon.com. You can go to health food stores. So you're going to find these type of amino acid pairings. I mean, there's glutamine, there's other things too besides amino acids that you can use. So it's one of those things where they definitely stimulate and it seems like the amino acids are the big thing. But I mean, if you think about an amino acid, they're the building blocks of life. They're proteins that help us to develop other proteins and other cellular processes. So the growth hormone is driving the bus and everything. Even as we age, we just don't use as much, but it's still helping with our bone turnover. It's helping with our muscles, fat distribution. It's what's actually, believe it or not, if we're eating a healthy diet and staying active, it's what's preventing type 2 diabetes from developing.
Sure.
So they're all critical.
Well, I guess if we were going to summarize here, you definitely would never want to use the illegal substance because you don't know what you're getting.
Well, no, I mean,
if you need it for some medical reason, you're going to go through your doctor, and otherwise, you're going to try these natural ways to boost it.
Yeah, well, and the other thing we didn't really touch on really was high intensity exercise training.
Oh yes,
so,
yes.
I mean, we want to.
I missed that too.
So exercise is that other pillar. So we're talking about food and supplementation. We're talking about sleep. We have to talk about exercise and specifically interval training.
Yes.
And so probably 1 to 2 days a week, not any more than that, because obviously when we're doing these very high efforts, and these are efforts when you're very uncomfortable, where you
Right.
can't hold a conversation. That's the level that you need to be getting your heart rate up to.
It's short
burst. Oh yeah, you're talking
right.
30 seconds to a minute, 5 to 10 times throughout a workout.
And the rest can vary.
Yeah. So
depending
whether
on
it's
what-
Tabata intervals, whether it's skipping rope, which is I just did that actually yesterday, and it hurts. So,
Yeah, it does.
It's a fatiguing burn. But those studies show that your body does go into because of the way that it's metabolizing things, it's that anabolic effect and breakdown. It's helping to release that growth hormone to heal, get more lean mass, and try and pack on some muscle density. So, I mean, it does naturally induce that so that we can become stronger.
Definitely going to
more
help
lean,
you
more
lose
fit.
weight too.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean,
and be healthier. I mean,
yeah.
actually, HIIT training to me is
It's the way to go.
Brad and I, your other dynamic duo
Yeah.
portion that's not here with us right now, we every Saturday, whether it's in the pool or on the bike, depending upon weather dependent, we do a series of intervals that I guess if you ask me, I would call it brutal.
Yeah,
But
I believe you too.
Brad has fun, so but he has fun with everything.
He's only got one gear.
Yes, he does. Yeah, and he's got the burst. I will
think
tell
you're
you.
along with him though too. So
Well, we're both kind of crazy.
I think we'll bring it to an end there, Chris. Really good information again. You just always amaze me with your knowledge. So thanks again for being on the show.
Absolutely, enjoy it.
And we'll keep it rolling. Watch for some additional episodes.
See you next time.